Are you a veteran who recently received a VA disability rating? Did you know you might be able to get a refund of your VA funding fee, potentially saving you thousands of dollars? Imagine getting a well-deserved financial break that you could never thought you can claim. In today's video, I'll walk you through the simple process to see if you qualify and show you exactly how to get your refund. So stick around because this could be a game changer to your financial future. Let's dive in and get you the benefits you've earned. So the first part, let's break down first what the VA funding fee is. So the VA funding fee is a fee the VA charges in order to use your VA home loan benefits. Now, there is an exemption for that with the disability rating, which we're going to go over next. Now, this fee is going to depend if you're using it for the first time, if you're using it multiple times, more than the first time, and also if you're doing 100% financing or if you're doing 5% down or a 10% down payment. All of that's going to change based on your eligibility and if you used the VA home loan before. And it's the only fee that can be rolled into a mortgage when purchasing a property, because it can range from 3.15% all the way down to 1.25%. So if you're going through this process, you want to know exactly like where you stand and how much you get charged. And that's going to be listed if you already are a homeowner on your closing disclosure you got for when you went to the closing table. Now let's talk about the exemptions of the VA funding fee. So you need to have a 10% or higher service connection in order to get the rating. Yes, there's people out there that have a 0% rating, but they wouldn't be exempt from the funding fee. Now there's some quirky thing you got to understand as well, is that some people that got a 10% disability rating don't have any money coming into them based on their certificate of eligibility, because that's how lenders know and can verify your disability rating is by your certificate of eligibility, because it will show that it's exempt. So what happens at times is you may get a 10% rating, but then they give you like a lifetime, once in a lifetime upfront lump sum and pay you that entire money to you up front, so then you're not getting any more payments. But that's really the only exception to that, when we don't really see a dollar amount that is listed on there. Now, when you're going through the home buying process, there's plenty of times, thanks to viewers like you that reach out, are going through the home buying process and they get a disability rating a week before closing. Well, then that money can actually be not even refunded. The lender could actually exempt you from paying the not property taxes, but exempt you from paying the VA funding fee. So when you get to closing, you don't have to then do a workaround to get that money back. And this benefit also does transfer to a surviving spouse. So keep that in mind. Now let's talk about the eligibility for a refund. So this is going to be based on what your effective date is for your VA disability. Now this is going to be listed on your award letter, and that's why it's extremely important to know what your file date is. Now, just for reference, just because you filed on a certain day, it doesn't mean that the VA will backdate it to that day. This also really applies for active duty members, because as they're going through the discharge process or retiring from the military, their actual effective date is going to be when they get discharged from the military. So if you buy a home before that, then you're not going to be able to get a refund on that. And also, never disqualify yourself from any of this. Reach out to the VA. I'll drop their number down below to the VA home loan. You're not calling the hospital. It's a completely separate system. And they're going to walk you through that. And that's why it's so important that you file your intent to file as soon as possible, because if you're buying a home next week or even this week, right, you want to be able to at least get that on the docket. And then, yes, you're going to be charged the VA funding fee, but then that funding fee gets refunded back to you once your effective date is going to be before the closing date. And again, remember, this does pass on to surviving spouses. And one thing too for active duty members, that if you have a proposed rating while you're still in, because we see this all the time from transitioning veterans, it won't be effective until you are discharged from active duty. Extremely important to note that, because people think like, oh, I already got my proposal, but it doesn't go into effect. So if you close on the home before you get discharged and your effective date isn't before the closing date, then you will still have to pay the funding fee. So it does not like, it's technically can be retroactive based on that, but this is why you got to be able to just kind of like immerse yourself in all the information. You guys can always reach out to us. Our contact info is down below. Now let's talk about some of the big benefits of having the disability rating as far as it goes to the real estate property tax breaks. Now there's certain states will offer tax breaks based on service connection or service connection and combination of income. I did a whole video on that. I'll drop that down below on how to search it because it can be somewhat convoluted based on like the state requirements, but then counties having an overlay. You really need to do the research. And what I've also seen, or the longest I've seen retroactive tax exemptions is up to 3 years back because the VA can take a while to actually issue a disability rating, as we know. But there's something cool that's out right now where the VA is doing 1-day decisions. Now, I'm going to drop a link in the video down below from the CivDiv explaining that process with Clay, because he has a lot more knowledge around how the VA disability process works, or if you have a rating or you're trying to get an increase, check out his channel because he's got a lot of good information. And guess what? It's free to you. So you're then able to empower yourself with more information and get your benefits that you've earned. Now let's talk about the steps to apply for the refund. Now you need to gather some documentation for this. You need to get your certificate of eligibility, which you can go on the VA's website, or you can reach out to us and we can grab that for you relatively quick. You're going to need your decision letter as well, and you're going to need that closing disclosure from the closing of your property. So make sure you gather those. You're going to contact your lender and let them know that, yes, you received a disability. You want to be able to get a refund. Now, sometimes the lenders will have, it kind of is one way or the other. You should call your lender first to see what their process is. They might say, well, you need to call the VA. Call the VA Regional Loan Center. Again, they're really great to work with. We never have any problems, and you can get a hold of them relatively quick. Call in the morning, also a lot easier. And then they'll walk you through what you need to submit in order to get that refund. Now, the timeline typically is pretty quick, but it is going to depend on the regional loan center on how fast they process it and depending on how busy they are. Now, this part is the crazy part. Your refund. Now, what happens, and it's kind of lender specific from what I've seen, is we've seen people get checks back like in the mail, right? So highest one I've seen was $36,000 because they had like a 3.15% funding fee and a pretty large balance. So the VA sent them a check for $36,000, which you can do whatever you want with. So it's pretty powerful. The other option is they will reduce your principal balance by that amount, which basically is changing the effect, how much interest you're paying. It's definitely a big benefit for you. But some people rather have the cash on hand to do whatever they want with, and others, they want to reduce the principal balance. But once you get that check, you can do a principal reduction if you'd like to. Now, some best practices with this: make sure that you keep airtight records, document everything. It doesn't make a difference what stage in the home buying process you're in. Even if you're thinking like, hey, I'm gonna buy in 5 years, you wanna document all your stuff. And hopefully by then, if you're going after getting the disability compensation, that you actually go through with it and get that rating before closing. But again, we've seen people, the longest I've seen someone wait was 16 years because they kept rebuttaling it through that process. Another important thing to note when you're going through the VA disability process, if you have a lot of claims, they might issue you like a 10 or 20% rating right away just so you start receiving some benefits and some back pay. If you're in that process and you're going through the home buying process, you don't have to pay the VA funding fee. But just note your certificate of eligibility won't get updated right away. It happened to me. What you have to do is you have to actually call the VA. They'll pull your certificate of eligibility. Then you call the VA and then you upload your disability award letter and then they will update it. That does take a couple days, but don't worry about it. We have a ton of experience with that. So if you guys want help, again, you guys can contact us down below, schedule an appointment with me, and I'll walk you through that entire process. And make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe button on the channel so you can get more content like this. And please drop any comments you have around this. Would love to hear your story and see how we can help the veteran community thrive.